Hey everybody, it's Lee here from the Gadget Grill and Chimp, showing you how to use two new features that have basically been thrown into Adobe Camera Raw in Photoshop CS4. Now, as you can see, I'm using Camera Raw 5.5, which is the newest one, or the newest one that I've found anyway. And in this video, we're going to show you these two new features, which I don't think many people have seen yet. I'm just going to turn my sound up a little bit. Okay. Oh, probably too much. Alright, I don't think many people have seen this yet. First you have the targeted adjustment tool, which I'm going to show you in this video. And then you have the graduated filter, which I'll show you in another one. Now, both of these settings work specifically inside the raw converter, which is better than working inside, say, a TIFF or a PSD in Photoshop, because you have all that raw detail to work with. Remember that when you shoot in Camera Raw, you're getting between 2 and 5 stops extra amount of detail to work with. That's light, that's color, that's contrast, that's a whole bunch of variables, and that's the reason why a lot of us use it. It's basically a digital negative, which explains why Adobe named their format digital negative, or DNG. So now I'm going to show you how this basically works. Go into parametric curve, and you can fiddle with the parametric curve all you want. Personally, I don't like it that much. It's basically a slightly more tactile way of creating an actual curve in here, whereas you'd normally inside Photoshop do the Control M thing and go up and go down. In here you do that. This is basically a way of having it I guess at your fingertips and your mouse control. And if you've got something like a Wacom pen and touch and you're using your fingers, it might be just that much more control to get it right. However, today I'm going to show you some of the aspects of the target adjustment tool, some of the really cool bits. I'm not going to go over the top. I'm just going to show you where they can be used and how cool they are. So first there's hue. Now I've got this image of Sackboy here from my Sackboy Lives Here website, and I'm gonna change the hue. Now we all know what hue is. Hue changes, I guess, the way the color is translated. So first off, it's good to know that wherever your cursor goes, your crosshair, your RGB tool up here is changing. So there it is, and it's changing all the things, telling me exactly what number of color I'm using here. Now, I'm hovering over green. Green's a good number to show here because I can show you that my green in this can look giant, astroturfy, completely grass would never look that way, or I can bring it back and make it seem as if Sackboy is in autumn and has all these really cool things. I mean, I shot this only a couple weeks ago, but now Sackboy has gone from spring to autumn in Australia. That's really cool. Now these tools are designed to work together. So we also have saturation. Now we all know what saturation does. Saturation increases the volume of the color. It can make it ridiculously strong and vibrant. So now he's in ultra New York, beautiful. We love that sort of orangey red that autumn really brings. Or I can pull it back and make it almost black and white. I mean, it's the sort of thing that black and white, all those people who love black and white with a bit of color images in there, you know, those really half-assed conversions. If you're into that, and don't get me started on you guys, it's not really art. If you keep doing it in cliched amounts, you're only proving that you can only do one thing. That's another topic for another day. If you really like that sort of thing, look how easy that was to do. I mean, sure, we've got a bit of controls that we've got to fiddle with there, and you'll have to erase that one back and erase those bits back, but generally that's not bad. So I'm just gonna set that to default for the saturation and bring that back and increase those colors just a little bit more, and that's working quite well already. Then we've got luminance. Now luminance basically increases the brightness, the actual, I guess, glossiness of what these colors are bringing out. So if I want to make these just a little bit brighter and stronger, I can. Likewise, I'm going to make Sackboy just a little bit brighter as well, to make him sort of feel as if he's part of the environment. I might pull back these a bit to make them shadier, because they don't really need to be part of the image. And that's an image edited from completely something different, like from something else into something completely different. So I've gone from spring to autumn. Now of course I can go back into my basic controls and change everything. So as you can see, I'm getting fringing up the top here with, you know, too much white, so I can bring my recovery in there and bring that back to a little bit of standards. I can add a bit of fill light into Sackboy here, and I can increase the contrast, and all these sorts of things can be done. And if you wanted to, you could change the white balance once again and have all of that be affected if you so choose. So that's an aspect of the target adjustment tool. The other aspect I'm going to show you is in this image here. What I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to crop this down. I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to make it a square image because I like square images a lot. And I'm going to drag it in place, and I might make that a little bit smaller. Okay, there we go. So I have this nice square crop of Ruthie Foster, the amazing blues singer from America. Now I'm going to go into here, the target adjustment tool, and I'm going to pick Grayscale Mix. Now Grayscale Mix does exactly what you think it does. It creates essentially a grayscale mix, a black and white image of your raw image. Now because we're working in RAW, as I said before, we get more detail to work with, we get more control. Now I should note that the grayscale mix works very similar to an actual, I guess, a photographic way of looking at black and white. Red filtration, blue filtration, green filtration, yellow filtration. If you know what these mean, this will all help you make a better black and white image in this tool. If you don't, it'll all just be playing around, and don't worry, you'll still probably end up with something semi-decent if you know what you're doing, if you know what good black and white is. If you don't, you're still going to end up turning into crap, which is why people like me exist, to help you along. Okay, so this is already a pretty good image, if I do say so myself, but let's make it a little bit better with this thing. So let's pull the blacks down a little bit, we'll change the volume of the skin, and we'll even pull some of that hair up a little bit. Now, as you can see, it's modifying various variables around here, and it's changing, I guess, the way the image is actually looking from a black and white point of view. Now once again, you can still go into your regular image information. If you want to mess with color temperature, it won't change the actual color, it will just change the temperature underneath the black and white conversion, as you can see. So if I bring this up here and make the temperature brighter, we get more light in there. Likewise, I can pull more degree of information out there, but we're also then getting the entire image exposure up. So once again, I can pull this back down, and as you can see, it's a bit of fiddling, but in the end, you can end up with an image that doesn't need to go through any extra black and white filters. It doesn't need to go through Nick. It doesn't need to go through alien skin. You end up with an image that is straight from the raw, a good image, and you have all that extra thing to work with. So let's try it with something else, something that I haven't prepared, and we're just literally going along here. As you can see, it's shot in 6400, almost identical settings, and using what's a relatively junk lens. So let's go in here and let's make a grayscale mix of this. Now let's pull him up a bit, pull the background down, pull him up a little bit more, and then we'll start playing with the contrast. Don't need much, probably a bit of fill light onto him, and generally you're done. And that's, like, provided you know what you're doing, you'll get a good result, but it's an excellent mode. And I come from a background where I would normally go in and use things, use filters and custom settings that I have literally done or literally created based off of how I used to work in a darkroom. And to be honest, I am finding this targeted mode a hell of a lot better for making black and white images lately, just because it means I get to work with the raw file and I don't have to work with some TIFF conversion that I have to create so many different images in black and white and then blend them to create that just right setting. So this is an excellent way of getting black and white. Likewise, it's also an excellent way of converting your image to something it could never have possibly been without, say, something like Nick Color Effects or something else. So that's the target adjustment tool. It's part of the new Camera Raw updates. I don't know whether this is supposed to be part of Adobe CS5 sort of stuff, but it's in there now. It's not beta or anything. So try it out and tell me what you think. Cheers.